Parks building, and then you're calling for a non-concurrence. Why is that?
It was poorly drafted, and it jeopardizes the entire bill.
How so?
But we put a fiscal note on it, and we go back into finance, and I just feel it jeopardizes the entire bill.
Do you think it makes it more likely the governor will veto it, the entire bill?
I can't speak for the governor, you'd have to ask him that, but I would suspect it would.
What do you personally think about the idea, though, of being able to carry guns in the legislative plaza in the Capitol?
I think that should be a separate issue that we address in another bill.
Why would it have a fiscal note?
Well, there's all the security that we have everywhere. It's not just the Capitol. If you read the bill, it's all the buildings surrounding the Capitol are included. Obviously, it was not offered in a constructive fashion.
You think so, like Supreme Court?
Yes, you read the amendment, all of that is included.
So, I mean, the buildings across the street.
Yes.
Doesn't the security machines, when they detect that anyway? I mean, what would have to change?
We'd have to have extra people down there probably to check and see if someone has a card on them. We'd have to verify the card is on the person. So there's a lot of issues that we would need to look at if we chose to go that route. Anything else?
I just want to ask Chairman Cass. I think you said though you think there is support within the caucus. There is support within the caucus for this idea.
For the idea, that's exactly right. But when you have something that in essence, I think has had a real good chance of killing the bill, then all of a sudden, it has to be. The mood is not to support it and to make sure we don't kill legislation that we have now.
Well, to continue on, I mean, you all have been in power for a number of years. Why hadn't you all done this previously?
We've been busy cutting taxes and growing the economy, and this will come up. I guess someday soon it'll come up, but it just hasn't been a top priority for us, at least for last week for leadership.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's of more interest to you guys, obviously, than it is to us.
Well, part of the point of the amendment, it appeared, was, well, if we're going to do this across the state, then shouldn't we do that, here at home where we work?
I think the point of the amendment was to kill the bill, is what the point of the amendment was. It wasn't to be constructive and to hold us accountable like the rest of the state. It was to kill the bill.
It was poorly written. I would submit to buttress Gerald's point. It was poorly, and I think it was intentionally poorly written to be vague and not precise and allow loopholes. And so that's just not how we do business here.
Of course, the critics of the bill itself say it's vague and allows loopholes and has sort of arguments of you can have a fake gun but not a real gun, or you can have a real gun but not a fake gun. Is there no criticism warranted of the original measure to begin with?
Oh, everything we do should and deserves. Everything we do should and deserves debate and criticism. I think they're wrong, but that's a democratic society.
What's your understanding of how close you can carry a firearm to a school if it's next to a park, like as in Nashville?
37-17-1309 is very clear. If a school owns, operates, or maintains a park, it's very clear. You cannot bring your gun there, even if you're a permit holder.
But if it's adjacent to the park?
Again, it's pretty clear. Owned, operated, or maintained. So the feds do have 1,000 feet, which would supersede our laws. So in addition to the feds, you've got our Tennessee law, which is, again, 37-17-1309. It's real clear.
But there seems to be some thought that the 1,000-foot buffer wouldn't apply to permit holders.
And that is, I have heard that, and that may be true. I can only speak intelligently, and that's questionable, on Tennessee code, and I go back to what's important to our county, which is if a park is maintained, owned, or operated by a school, no permit holders can bring their guns.
Mr. Chairman, you talk about the need for debate, and there was clearly lots of discussion or talk from Democrats on the floor about this measure, but there was really no debate or no questions, at least from Republicans, on the bill Monday. Do you know why that was? Or
on the
why?
Senate floor?
On the House. I'm talking about the House, the Guns and Parks, when the bill passed in the House earlier in the week, when there was plenty of, I think, 11 Democratic amendments, and certainly they got up and talked about it, and there could be issues with the way they talked about it, but there's no real discussion on the amendments or discussion on the bill at all once it actually came.
We had almost an hour of discussion on those amendments, and we had some discussion on the bill, but quite frankly, the rules say that you can cut off debate after a reasonable amount of time. I thought we were very patient with it, listened to a lot of silliness, quite frankly, and we were very patient through the whole process. And they had a lot of time. We spent more time on that bill than any other bill that night. So the idea that we didn't have a debate on that bill is ridiculous.
Well, I think
You had debate on the amendments, or you discussed the amendment, or you tabled them immediately.
And they were all over the place on the amendments. They didn't
Right.
stick to their amendments when they were talking about it. They talked about the whole broad range of the bill.
Well, I think they might argue that a debate would involve two sides. I mean, I think we
They
could
talked more than we did. Maybe,
Right, I
maybe we
think
should
that's
have
the-
talked more instead of just letting them do it. And remember, we have a super majority. We could have walked in there and not had any debate on it.
So was it by design then to just say, instead of even receiving or discussing it, just to call it, just table things and then call for the question and not actually have to put, or have the sponsor discuss what the bill did and why?
I would submit that in the House, this is why we are such sticklers on bringing amendments to the floor, because all the heavy lifting, all the debate is done in subcommittee, committee in that bill. So there was a lot of debate and a lot of give and take, but we do it in the subcommittee where you have the flexibility to really dig deep on an issue. And so when you get to the floor, gosh, would you say, Leader, about an hour or so, we still, in addition to all the committee debate.
What do you think it says that, even though the House has passed it, there's still questions as about, in terms of this 1,000 foot and, exactly where guns are, like where that line is, that it's passed the House, but we still don't have answers to that yet.
Oh, I think the answers are clear. I think that if a park is owned, maintained, or operated by a school, no permit holder can bring a gun. And that's, and let's be clear, I'm of the belief, and I'll just express my opinion, is that right now there are guns in parks. There was a shooting 2 days ago in a park. Guns in parks today exist by lawbreakers. What we're saying is we want those law-abiding citizens that have demonstrated the ability to operate a weapon to be there and to avert a crime, which has happened many times across this country and this state. So I think we're being naive-like if we say there is no guns in park and this is a guns in parks. This is not. This is letting permit holders there to defend unarmed citizens.
Looking at the amendment again, though, it does mention this idea of exempting or not allowing explosives or other items, including imitation weapons, within this 150 feet. So I'm still a little bit confused as to why it's important to not allow like squirt guns or fake guns within 150 feet of a school versus school property versus a permitted gun.
All we got to do is look at Cleveland, Ohio, about 2 weeks ago. A child, 16 years old, maybe I shouldn't use the word child, was waving a plastic gun. Police officers did not know what that was, and they acted accordingly, and they defending the people at that park that they thought the young man had a gun. So we want to avoid the vagueness and having innocent people shot for police doing their duty.
So in Tennessee, then the police have to go and check whether that person had a permit before they took action. Is that what happened?
I think what the message says, if you're waving a gun around,
which is a permit holder, you can do apparently according to the Raptor like
you
Rambo.
couldn't. If you wave that gun around, you're acting irresponsibly. And if a permit holder waves that gun around, they're going to be in trouble quickly with police.
There's been discussion in Nashville though with this person, this Radler like Rambo,
Right.
who has a gun, and under this law, even with this amendment, would still be allowed to walk around with a weapon if he's permitted with a real, I think he had an AR-15, some sort of rifle. But if he has a squirt gun, then he could be arrested.
And I think the key is if he keeps that squirt gun hidden, right? He doesn't wave it around, right? No one's going to think he's waving a weapon around.
But he's literally waving around a rifle right now, like a real gun, and he's allowed to do it.
Is that a permit?
Yes, he has a permit for this gun.
And I thought it was a concealed weapon.
No.
Correct.
You know that the Tennessee law does not require it to be concealed.
Okay.
Hopefully you know.
I did. And look, I think the law's clear. I mean, we're debating something theoretical. We're talking practicalities here. I like us to focus on the practicalities. And we need to focus on the things we're doing right in Tennessee.
So the shooting you referred to 2 days ago was a person playing with his cat when he accidentally discharged the weapon. Are you prepared?
No, that's not what I'm talking
well,
about.
okay, well, there was a shooting 2 days ago where a person in Haddon Park was playing with his cat, accidentally discharged the weapon. Are you prepared that if there are more guns in the park, there's a higher likelihood for accidents that there may be some person hurt by having an accidental discharge of a gun in a park?
I would say that if we spent more time worrying about criminals carrying guns in parks instead of law-abiding citizens, that would be a better use of our time.
There are some parks, and Chairman Sargent, you know this, Grassland Park virtually surrounds Grassland Middle and Grassland Elementary Schools. That park is maintained by the county parks department, not the schools. you could walk on that greenway with a gun under this bill. Could you not?
If they have the school function, no.
Well, what if they're not having a school function? What if they're not out on the playground? What if they're in the building?
The law is really clear. If and this is an excellent example. Grassland has school functions there, cross country.
Not all the time.
But the law is real clear. It doesn't say when. It says if, which and court of law is very clear. So in this case, because Grassland has school functions there, there cannot be a permit holder taking a gun on Grassland Park.
At any
Period.
time?
At any time.
So you're saying that if for example, a Nashville school had an event one time a year at a park, that there would never be allowed to have any permitted guns at that park?
And I'm not a judge, nor do I pretend to be a lawyer, but if you read the law, it says if. If it said any other word, your point is valid. But when it says if a school, blah, 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 no.
But if the whole motivation of the law was to avoid confusion for permit holders who say they don't know which parks are allowed to go in and which they're not, how would something like that make it more clear for permit holders if they don't know that once a year there's the sack race by the elementary school?
Eric, I would only submit that those who want it to be confusing say it's confusing. I think the average public, good gracious, if Glenn Cassidy could understand this, surely to goodness everybody else can. I'm not the most,
But you as a permit holder would know, just as a matter of course, which parks allow guns and which don't, even under the new law?
I think if you know, I think number one, if schools want to, they can post, this is a school-owned operated park, $5 maybe. That would be the logical conclusion.
But Grassland Park is not owned or operated by the school.
It is. It
No,
is.
it's not owned or operated
It's,
by
but there's a third word, used. Owned, operator, used. Those are the three words in 3717, 1309.
Why not just leave this to locals as it is now, where they can address each individual situation?
Are we asking questions or having a debate?
I asked a question.
I feel like the Democrats are here.
I said, why not? I said,
And
why
you haven't been
not?
elected.
I said, why not?
Here-
That's
here-
a question.
My response is, when it comes to constitutional questions, the state created federal government, the state created local government. So when it comes to constitutional questions, it's the state's obligation to guarantee the constitutional rights. Generally speaking, we do defer things to local, but generally speaking, this legislature believes in devolving power to the individual. Big intrusion of local governments, no redemption. We want to restore power to the individual.
I'm not trying to debate, but I mean, these are the questions that we're being asked about this. And one of the things that keep pointing out to me is you guys keep talking about criminals, but there are accidents. Permit holders have accidents.
Certainly.
So, I mean, if there's an accident and a permit holder is in a park, there's a high chance it's going to hit a child.
There's accidents with bicycles in parks. Should we outlaw
Yeah, but
bicycles?
bicycles very rarely kill people. Guns are weapons.
Oh, that's not true. I
Guns
disagree
are
with that
weapons.
statement.
You're saying a gun is the same as a bicycle?
If used properly, I am. If used properly.
Well, in the event of an accident, which is more likely to kill someone?
I mean, we're back in the theoretical. I think in Tennessee we're dealing with a lot more questions than guns and parks. This is a minor thing in the scope of what we're doing good in Tennessee.
So if someone is hit accidentally with a bullet, you guys are fine defending this bill?
If someone gets run over by an automobile accidentally, there's nothing I can do about that. These are things beyond, they're called acts of God. They're beyond our control.
No one wants to see anybody get hit by a car, get hit by a bullet. So I really take very great offense to that one. No one sitting at this table or standing around this table would ever want to see anybody hit by a bullet or a car.
No one's suggesting that you want this to
No,
happen.
no,
The question is whether it could happen.
As you're advocating that side of the argument, which is
Y'all
what
have
you're
any
doing.
other questions?
No, I'm just
Yeah.
I'm just trying to present. I mean, there are people.
I don't think you're presenting, I think you're advocating.
But I think we need to change. We've been on this.
Yeah, is this the only thing that's
things.
important to you
Grace has a
guys?
question.
Well, I mean, here's the
Seriously.
deal. You guys like to accuse the media of paying too much attention to this issue.
You are.
It's
Right now you are.
it's an
I'm
issue that
accusing
has
you
a
of
lot
it.
of interest in the state and did not get a full debate on the floor.
I disagree with that.
I
You
did
got no
very
debate.
much
No, you-
disagree.
look
I
at
don't
the
think
tape.
there's
There
been a
was
bill
no
on the
debate
floor
on
that had
the
more
bill.
debate than this one the whole year.
The only discussion on the bill was a short statement by the co-sponsor reading a news story about something happening in a different state. That was the only thing
Not
on the
include
bill,
the amendments.
not the amendment.
But you're
Okay.
neglecting the
Well, then we
community.
can
Did you have a
divvy
question?
it down.
It's not going to be a Zoom test, I know. So, Speaker Howell, this is mainly for you.